Kupo Moogles, it's the Schwantz27 here, and it's the end of the third week of the Kefka Grand Prix Deluxe event, so let's review all of the racing action with a look at the standings and a preview of the track for next week's runs, which will obviously be the only one of the four we've yet to see. This past week, however, saw us grab our scuba helmets and dive into the Serpent Trench run with a Kefka unlock at 7 characters, 10 espers, and a Kefka Tower skip with 12 bosses as well as a Serpent Trench check. We start with Gao and 60,000 GP, which is enough to buy 12 items with a barter economy, shop selling everything for 5,000 a pop and half price to sell. So it's a 2 items for 1 trade. Shops are also slightly higher chance of better stuff at 30% random, although we won't find a lot of goodies in there. Characters had a higher equipment item pool at original plus 60% versus the standard 1/3, so there were some fun builds to play with across the 3 cart classes. Let's begin with the Chocobo class, who had some vanilla flavoring with a Rage Morph Natural Magic Gao, Jump Setzer, as well as Go-Go to start, and the increased Rage list did deliver with Retainer and Toe Cutter for some great ones to start. If you went to World of Balance Albrook, you could also spike a Pearl Lance in a shop for Setzer or Go-Go if you wanted them to use the jump command. Doing Gao's 2 checks netted Mog along with Torado, and visiting the Coliseum got you some ice shields from Mithril Vests, which could be used for our 2 characters with their feet on the ground so that Gao could use the Daedalus Merton Rage. Unfortunately, what followed was a bunch of Espers at Kolingen and Lone Wolf if you didn't want the offering, as well as dead checks at Search the Skies, Kefka at Narsh, and Moogle Defense, although a Flame Shield was welcome for the build that I mentioned earlier. It wouldn't be until Daryl's tomb, where Magitech Edgar was buried, that we unearthed another character. See what I did there? And the linearity of the seed continued, striking out with Palador at the engine room, Fixed Ice at the Figaro throne, so now we actually have a reason to go back to the Moogle Mines for that offering, and Slot Celeste was down in the Ancient Castle, which is the best character that we could have seen due to Edgar's ability of Magitech. Hefe decided to go get Throw Sabin from the South Figaro prisoner spot, which is actually an awful ability in a barter seed, got Katana Soul, Gigantos, and Kieran from the Collapsing House, and chased Waterfalls for Shote. Finally, he moved on to the Magitech Factory, where Doomgaze dropped a Mario hat, Ramu was the second prize in the minecart ride, featured a reset due to a Madam Outsider fight. After dusting ourselves off and trying again like Aaliyah, Shadow was the reward at the end, but more importantly, we got that upgrade for Edgar. Another free check, another character with Umaro at Gao Manor, and we already spotted Terra as the Yeti Cave reward when we did the World of Balance Narsh loop, so we stopped only at the Tritok spot for Raiden. Mount Colts was the next destination to get our 12th boss for Kefka Tower skip, but only a gem box was the reward, forcing Hefe to do the unthinkable. Head into the auction house? Wait, what? Am I seeing this correctly? Hefe, auction house? What are you doing in there? Well, I guess getting a $10,000 reward for a Ragnarok and a $20,000 Esper and Seraphim used that money from the Katana Soul fight to good use for that final Kefka unlock. Although we had a full Magitech upgrade and Go-Go being able to mimic, Gao with great spells and rages, Setzer with a Fixed Ice offering, and a Valiant Knife from the Vector Weapon Shop for one of our other characters to use, we did have a pretty good final party set up, but Kefka's Tower didn't pull any punches, with having to fight Goddess and Dullahan for the middle group and Haydn on the right side. But we had Exer for instant death, Mute from Gao's natural magic, however no calmness protection to be found. So Hefe took out Kefka with just 3 of his 4 main party members, coming in second place with 1:46.21, just about 6.5 minutes behind Bubbaski, with a 1 second difference between our 9th and 10th place runners after spells are taken into consideration, with Saberwolf gaining 90 seconds from Haste 2. The Blackjack Cart class had Capture Blitz for Gao, another Edgar with Runic, and Lock with Slot. Free checks gave us Kieran or an offering from the Narsh Weapon Shop with a 12 Battle Curse Shield, a Dance Realm from the Figaro Throne with Water Rondo having multiple Fire, and El Nino to carry early on with Slot and Blitz. World of Ruin South Figaro had half-price earrings, peace rings for shield on cursing, economizers, and dried meat in order to get us all started. Gao's checks gave us Crusader and GP Rain Natural Magic Sabin after the forced encounters. Unlike in the previous seed, we did get Calmness Protection Fenrir at the South Figaro Cave and Bismarck at Imperial Camp. However, a reset out of Poltergeist at Mount Colts did set Narvs back some time here. He pivoted then to Phantom Train, where X-Magic Terror was the reward, so a quick turnaround to a mostly empty sealed gate cave yielded Go-Go. Continuing with character, Steel Setzer was running around Esper Mountain, so now we were just looking for Espers. The Leet River had a very dangerous Inoc ×3 fights and a Rex Soul at the end for the Carbuncle Esper if you could make it through that gauntlet. The progression grinded to a halt afterwards with 2 Jed checks in World of Balance Narsh, a Ragnarok Sword for Edgar or Locket Welk, and a Minerva from the Narsh battle. Then Kolingen had a Dragon Horn, which could go with Edgar's boots, and an Aura Lance that we already knew about in Mount Colt from the Spicy Chicken drop, which finally gave us the Shiny Stone Stray along with it. The string of bad luck continued, however, with Collapsing House and Search the Skies being items, then an unneeded Umaro at Azur's Mansion forced some runners to dig deep into the auction house for 2 Espers. Others took Shiva away from the Mobiliz kids, chased Waterfalls for Phoenix, bought the Tizen Thief Esper even at a steep 50,000, and grabbed Odin from Daryl's Tomb to finally get Esper requirements. Some French vanilla bosses, Doom and Guardian, awaited the side parties in Kefka's Tower. Although a lack of instant death outside of Espers, we did have Siren and Fenrir to make the Kefka fight not as scary, with Narves finishing the race at 131.25. However, he used Haste 2 to gain 90 seconds and leapfrog over Ensign Wesley's time in order to take home 15 points with first place and an adjusted time of 129.55, 6 seconds ahead. In fact, the first 7 spots were only separated by about 9 minutes, with Slow 2 giving 30 seconds to the 3 runners below 1 free fits, and 8th place Jesus the Frog hitting Physics Shebang again for another 30-second loss with Bolt. The Falcon card had a Gamble and Steel Gao with another Setzer, this time with Natural Magic and Tools, and Magitech Cyan with a whopping 24 magic power. This allowed us to grab a Magus Rod from the Kolingen Inn and buy some 4 shields in the shop to prevent magic attacks. It took our runners a while, but World of Balance the Masa had our dried meat for the Vel check. However, we did find an experience egg in a chest in World of Balance South Figaro, and World of Ruin to Zen had our relics covered with hero rings and earrings. Gao's checks gave Umaro early and another Crusader Esper with Fire 3 X Zone Life 2 and Strength +2 bonus, which might be one of the best Espers I've ever seen. Some runners took Umaro to the Coliseum for easy Atmo weapons to help guide where that experience egg would go. While we were dumped out into World of Balance Nikea, some snipers were available for purchase for Cyan, who couldn't use the Ragnarok that was dropped from the Vanilla Ice Dragon, and the 2 other World of Ruin Narsh bosses were also weak to fire, with Haydn giving a Dragonhorn and SR Behemoth giving Bismarck. Gigantos was also in the Classroom Monster in a Box for a 3rd week in a row in this card class, allowing for even more XP. Another dead check with Search the Skies giving a Thunder Shield, and if you went to Cyan's Dream early before learning the Fire 3 spell or having enough MP to cast it repeatedly, you probably reset out of the Goddess first fight with Gave Phoenix. Lore Edgar was our 5th character, and a Vanilla Alexander on the throne gave us 3 progression in this check. Leaving Daryl's Tomb, Mount Zozo, and Doma Siege for later, that forced us into Edgar's checks, which had Capture Mog in the engine room, Go-Go on the Figaro throne for our 7th character, so Drinks Glue decided to skip out on the Ancient Castle, which is a longer check without a boss to count towards skip, and instead head in search of Espers. Peekable Doma Siege gave Stray, Lone Wolf had Swordtech Strago or Atma Weapon, which wasn't an easy choice given you already had the requirements if you didn't go to the Coliseum, so you might have picked the weapon over the Swordtech upgrade. Espers at Narsh Battle, Fanatic's Tower with Calmness Protection and a Cat Hood, Daryl's Tomb, and Mount Zozo left us with just 1 more to go. Tizen Thief was selling Garbo, so Moogle Defense was the last peekable option, and it did deliver with Carbuncle. Having only 11 bosses though, heading into Kefka's Tower early to fight Toilet Atma gave us a slog of a fight with Poltergeist in order to get Kefka's Tower skip. The side statues were also pretty rough in this seed as well, with Rexol at Goddess and Doomgaze at Doom, depending upon which party you sent, with Setzer and Gao using magic, Cyan using Sniper or an Atma weapon, a fully equipped Swordtech Strago or Go-Go, and Edgar using a Ragnarok for various party compositions. The Kefka fight was only rough on tier 2 without access to Nullify Magic, and Falcon Hit smoked the competition with 111.57 ahead of the cluster of Drinks Glue, Gar, and Judge Joe that all finished within 30 seconds of one another. Again, another tight race, as the 2nd through 10th place runners were only 9 minutes away from one another. However, only the top 6 runners got points in this card class. The overall standings have no change at the top four of the ticket, with Jesus the Frog, Tursman, and Ensign Wesley jumping ahead of Double Down and Boo, who are static in points this week. Looking ahead, the fourth and final track that we haven't yet raced is the Phantom Train Railway, where Kefka requirements are the same as last week, 7 characters, 10 espers, and the Kefka Tower skip is 12 bosses with the Phantom Train check. However, we only start with Cyan and not Sabin, so we may not get to skip depending upon the seed that we roll. If we do find a character with Blitz, we can immediately do the 1 minute or so Duncan cutscene for Bum Rush, and Steel Capture are more valuable commands with a shuffle plus 10% random drops and steals, so your Katana Soul may only be good for a nice payday and not an offering. Magic caught a huge nerf with no natural magic, which helped out several cart classes immensely this past week. Espers are more expensive to summon, only grant 2 to 4 spells, and the most important is that top magic spells are removed from the learnable pool, which is all tier 3 elementals, life 2, life 3, quick, Merton, Pearl, Flare, Exxon, Stop, and Ultima. Rods are also unavailable from shops. Our free checks, with Mount Zozo to start, will give high tier items from the standard pool instead of progression, and YNPC is set to remove, so sequence breaking will be expected, including getting the Curse Shield right away, a high tier item choice at the Narsh Weapon Shop, the potential to get the Magitech upgrade whenever we feel like it, and access to the Collapsing House chests without Sabin. I'm thinking this seed will lean heavily on physical attacks with the fight command and character abilities like Sword Tech, Magitech, Lore, and others, since the magic command isn't going to be as potent as normal. We did see some huge impacts from casting magic this week, with Narves getting first place in Blackjack, and we've got a lot of runners with double-digit MP now, so the shakeups will continue into next week's races. Be sure to check out our Twitch channel to catch some races live before they come over here onto YouTube. Link is in the description. I've been TheSchwanz27. Until next time.